Let's see if this will work. Enable VDR. Alright, let's see. Let's just go ahead and get this set up. Okay, is the volume pretty good? Okay. Your volume. Okay. All right. Hey, yo. So what we're gonna do is, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. This past week, PlayStation has been extremely unfavorable. For whatever reason, I had like a non-zero hope that PlayStation was gonna be the last bastion, because changes in Xbox were getting crazy, changes in Nintendo even was getting crazy, and now Nintendo was getting crazy, and now PlayStation with its dedication. I think it's an article. Let me see. Hold on. Blog, PlayStation blog. Is there a blog about latest blog? What is it? PlayStation. I thought I had this set up. Physical. Let's see. Yeah, this is it right here. Physical disc production ending in January 2028 for new games released on the console. Yeah, they're really telling. This alone is telling us right now that PlayStation is becoming a digital only platform, and here's a few things. I'm wondering if this is in itself a response to the Steam box, the Valve box, because the Valve box in itself is a console dedicated to playing to dedicated to running and playing your Steam games, right? So if anything else, I wonder if it's I wonder if I know that PlayStation's been very bad, but I also wonder if Nintendo had something to do with it, because when it released the Switch 2, their cartridges were the first ones to say, "Hey, we're giving you a cartridge that provides you with a key that gives you the license to play this game." I don't actually believe that cartridge for the PlayStation 2 from the Switch 2 gives you digital ownership. It gives you a digital license to play the game, but now PlayStation has finally done the next thing that Nintendo has done. Nintendo gave us cartridges for the Nintendo Switch 2 that doesn't have the game. The cartridge in those Switch 2 game boxes gives you a download code, and then all PlayStation is doing is following suit, I wonder. And then there's no news that Xbox is doing the same thing. Xbox has not made a promise quite yet about that, but anyways, I wanted to look into that before we jump into today's video. The end of an era. I was listening to Max when he was talking about it earlier this week, so I'm just catching up on news, and then we're gonna be playing games later. It is really bad. It is really bad that we're coming to an age to where 13 years ago they promised to maintain the push for physical media when they released the PlayStation 4 around that time as well. So it's wild to be where we are now.
Let's just begin this entire crazy whiz-bang story. And I saw this when I woke up, and it put me in a bad mood for the rest of the day. There's a tweet that went out earlier. Jesus, this tweet is going through it right now. 52,000 replies.
52,000.
Physical discs for new games. Physical disc.
Yeah. Okay, so I did find the correct blog. Okay.
This production is now ending January 2028 for new games releasing on PlayStation consoles. I thought there was a little bit of an iota of hope where it means that, okay, so third parties can still release games on consoles, right? Of getting disc releases if it's like Square or Capcom, right? Right?
Yeah, because that's what I'm trying to figure out too. Because like when we first heard the news, I'm thinking to myself, are they? Because in the very same way, PlayStation pulled away their first person games. They began a movement of transitioning of all their games, of their Spider-Man, of their Gods of Wars, of their PlayStation titles that are single player, and they were slowly migrating it onto like Steam and other digital platforms. And then I was hoping that when they announced that they're removing their single player games, I was hoping they were removing those games to be just console and to be a reason to buy the PlayStation, much like how there are some Xbox specific titles that can only be played on the Xbox, like in that same fashion, right? That's what we're hoping for, and we're hoping for third-party games or multiplayer games to still come in hard copies for everybody, right?
Right. In response to shifting trends and consumer preference, new games will be released on PlayStation Store and at retailers and digital formats only. I have choice things to say of how we got here, but I'm going to save it. As consumer preferences and a broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from things to say of how we got here, but I'm going to save it.
I will say my opinion in response to shifting trends and consumer preferences. The reason why the consumer have certain preferences, the reason why we have a preference to digital media, a reason why we have preference to like streaming certain games, Game Pass, is because of other factors. We have for a lot of like people, even if you're making like like near close $30 an hour, it doesn't change the fact that your yearly raises are extremely low. Some companies are extremely low. There's a lot of low to mid income families. There are more of those populations than people that are making the 100,000s. There's making the 200,000s. Like, there's crazy amount of people that overpopulate, that have, there's a big pie chart, right? There's a sliver that says Donald Trump and friends. There's a piece that says people who's been in this job for 20, 30 years and has come into a place of 100,000, 200,000 like for income, or working for Disney or EA Sports, right? And then there's a larger majority of the pie that is made up of those who can't own their own home by themselves in 2026, who don't match the annual income for a stable living. There's income issues. There is accessibility to X, Y, and Z. There's a lot of factors where consumer preferences are based on the income that they're allowed to make, and the income that they can make determine the luxuries that are allowed to them. Like, you can either spend $40 on groceries, on gas, on yourself, or in some cases, if you have a kid, then that $40 almost vanishes, right? There's a lot of consumer preferences that, and one of them, if we're lucky enough, we get to play a game. And I'm definitely saying the quiet part out loud is that a lot of the ways that Trump has shifted tariffs left and right, a lot of the ways that the Strait of Hormuz has affected things. The Strait of Hormuz has affected the way people have to buy gas. And sometimes you need to buy gas over the game that you want to buy, right? There's cases where you have to buy groceries over the physical media. And sometimes that space... I'm lucky enough that I'm renting this house with my friends. But if Joanna and I had our own apartment, we would have so much less space. We would have so much less space to do activities. We would have so much less space to own our computers. Our computers could have been in the living room if we owned a 1-bedroom apartment. And that's just the craziest thing about it. If we're lucky enough to buy an apartment with two rooms, we can't guarantee that space, right? So space is a factor of a lot of things.
Consumer preferences and a broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from physical discs to digital. Physical game disc production for all new games releasing on PlayStation consoles will be discontinued in January of 2028. Following this date, new games will be available on PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only. This transition has no impact on games that are already released or will be releasing prior to January 2028 in disc format.
And that's crazy because at the same time, they just announced a bunch of titles. Next year will be somebody's reason to buy a PlayStation 5. So next year, somebody will be convinced to buy a PlayStation 5 for GTA, or they would buy a PlayStation 5 to play Final Fantasy Revelations, and then back over again with Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's crazy and it's concerning, but then that also means, that's the craziest thing though, because even because back when we had back in the early 2000s, the solution to make Final Fantasy VII was to make 3 discs, and technology got better. Technology got so much better that we were able to put it into one disc. And you're telling me that PlayStation will stop innovating on storage in order to allow access to games? Is the problem, because I talked about this at work with somebody, to where we were going on a trend where games were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I can definitely say that there's a discussion to be had to where there's going to be a point where games can't fit comfortably on one disc anymore. Then give us 2 discs. Final Fantasy VII was one of the few games that said, hey, enjoy this experience, but you have to put in 3 discs over the course of your play. And then we were okay with that. We were okay with Final Fantasy VII with 3 discs. Is there a reason why we can't do that same practice? It's super crazy, because when you think about it, we're coming to a point to where we're getting more and more games that require more and more storage space. And what's the let me look it up. What is the biggest game that can be put onto physical media? The maximum size for a single standard consumer physical game is 100 gigabytes on a PlayStation 5 Ultra HD Blu-ray disc. The games exceeding this can be placed on physical media by using a multi-disc set. Yeah, because for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like a few years ago, you were able to just put Final Fantasy VII Rebirth onto 2 discs, and then any updates for that game. But here's the thing: if you were to play offline for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it was a feature complete game across 2 discs, and if you wanted updates for that game, it was going to update onto the hardware, but it won't touch the disc. If that makes, I don't know if this is making sense, but it's incredibly crazy to where PlayStation had the solution to this, to where you can either split a game into 2 discs and into two Blu-ray discs, or to have a game that's under 100 gigabytes. And that's Xbox Series. Oh, that's crazy. Allegedly, the Xbox Series X Blu-rays are up to 50 gigabytes. That's incredibly weird. Okay, that's crazy. To where, hold on, what am I thinking of? For whatever reason, the deluxe edition of Baldur's Gate was on 4 discs for the Xbox Series X, and 3 discs. I don't know if we had a disc release for Baldur's Gate 3 on PC, but it's crazy where we had the solution to storage, right? But then I guess I can see where their concern was for PlayStation in the next 10 years. How would we be continually distribute games, right? How, what would be the point to where we can't just simply ship 3 disc games to public, right? And the problem is with that is that my understanding is that the reason they stopped thinking about how to make games within that constraint, when they also had another team say, hey, we're gonna push for more live services, and you can't put a live service on a Blu-ray disc. You have to download it like you would Warzone like you would Apex, like you would Fortnite, right? So I wonder if this decision to make physical game, to make to stop making physical games is based on their push to make more live service games, right? To where you can't put a live service game onto a Blu-ray disc, right? So the solution was to throw away the Blu-ray disc, and that's incredibly wild.
So already, that's an interesting date, brother. January 2028 specifically, why that day? It's no mystery that the PlayStation 6 is in development. In fact, at times where we thought that it might not be, they kind of come back and they say that it is. And they're like, talking about next generation. So it's like, okay, so you guys aren't holding off on it even though everything costs 5 times as much as it did before? Some crazy shit? No.
Yeah, because right now it's incredibly wild to where, let me see, let's PS5. PS5's alone at Best Buy for the slim digital is $600. $600 for like almost like 1,000 gigabytes, which is incredibly crazy. Like it's $600 for a PlayStation 5, Xbox X. An Xbox X would cost about $600 too. So right now, the barrier of entry is $600, and that's before you think about accessories that you need. That's before you think about additional storage if the games that you want. If you want to have more than one game installed in your console. And it's what about Nintendo Switch? The Nintendo Switch is $500. Choose your game bundle, or refurbished for $444. So $450 for refurbished. Oh God, it's wild. Wait, what about Rogue Ally? The Rogue Ally X is $1,000, and that's their part, and that's the ROG's partnership with Xbox. Okay, what about the Steam Deck? The Steam Deck machine is roughly $900. The Valve Steam machine is allegedly that can't be right. The Steam machine is allegedly going to be $1,000. $1,200 with console, or $1,500 with console and faceplates. Like it's games already are pricing people out as it is. Like the barrier of entry with the PC alone is at minimum $1,000, and that's for if you want something that's working more than potato, right? But even then, that computer is having issues with pricing because you have to think about graphic cards, RAM, VRAM, all that stuff that can play games at a high end. Wild.
they're still moving forward. So that means that there is going to be new hardware at some point in the pretty near future. Probably not the end of this year. We'll probably get a pretty good idea of what it is next year. And right around the January 2028 timeframe, at least in the holiday timeframe of 2027, just saying, we might be playing, or not be playing, who knows, a brand new PlayStation 6. And I'm fairly sure at that point we can just say a PlayStation 6 is going to be completely dickless. It has no dick. It is just, we're not
No
doing
disc
that shit
drive,
anymore,
sorry.
bro. Everything is digital. Everyone buys shit digitally, so it shall be so. This is a natural direction for Sony to adapt to consumer trends and general preference for digital media as it significantly outpaces physical discs. The transition will enable us to align more closely with how most of our consumers or community prefers to access to play games today. We'll continue to prioritize our resources and drive innovation in how players can access games and provide choices as to where players can prefer to purchase new games, whether that's from retailers or PlayStation Store. So they're doing the GTA thing. GTA got the heads up on this shit. That's all it really is. And
Yeah.
just so people are kind of aware of the situation.
Oh yeah, that's right. GTA 6 will not be shipped with a physical disc. They're being shipped with a code to let you download the game. So at this point, there's no purpose for you to go in stores to buy GTA 6 when you can just go online on your own and buy it on the digital platform already.
It was believed that Grand Theft Auto 6 was going to be digital only. Here's a code in a box for a limited period of time, and that maybe in December they were going to start printing discs. And it was like, oh, okay, gotcha. So maybe there is just, it's a big release. Maybe I can kind of buy that you're going to have to wait a month or so for us to start.
Yeah, because when you think about it, we don't know I don't think. Do we know? Hold on. Let's see. Storage. GTA 6 size. The size is it's not officially confirmed, right? So it's not officially it's not officially confirmed that GTA 6's official size will be either 150 or 250 gigabytes of storage space at launch. That makes sense to where, hey, there was a dream where, hey, we're going to give you digital code for now, and then if you want a hard copy of the game, we're developing discs later on, right? But then again, that's the problem to where hold on, let me just go back. GTA 6 Online, is there online gameplay? Is launching primarily as a single player experience and will not feature an online multiplayer mode at launch. An online component is expected to arrive later. Because they typically like stagger the release of their multiplayer modes to give players time to experience the main story. Okay, so I can see at this point, if they had you could have given it the Final Fantasy treatment, release GTA 6 across 3 discs and make something out of it, right? But no, for whatever reason,
printing it. But apparently, as people are finding out, they're just not. And they never said that they were necessarily, is that's what they're saying. The only thing you're going to get is a Blu-ray box with a GTA slip in and a code. That's it. And that's just the way GTA is going to be distributed from this point forward. It's just the way it is. It really feels like, of course, Grand Theft Auto of all games. And, the dudes that are making it are pretty aware of that. The Nintendo side of this is that the physical versions of their releases are still a little expensive because they had to print a cartridge, print a slip or whatever. They have to print physical copies. So it's like, okay, that makes sense why that would be like $59.99 or $69.99. Don't get me wrong, but they're doing this thing where the digital versions of some of their games that you buy on Switch 2 are actually a little bit cheaper now. And I think like there's a couple of comparisons where if you buy it digitally on their store, it's like about $10 less, which feels about right. Like, yeah, that you don't have to print all this shit and make all these cartridges and discs and stuff, that it should be a little bit cheaper. So we could all come to the conclusion, if we're framing the reference that Nintendo of all goddamn companies now is looking like the good guy.
I mean, Nintendo, I don't know if Nintendo is still the good guy because Nintendo is still making, I don't even know the current progression of their lawsuit with like Power World, but I definitely do know that we're in a situation to where they're pushing the concept of like, hey, now you can play with all your friends. We're selling you a camera. We're selling you the application to do voice chat through the console. And hey, there's these things. It's crazy. And like, I don't know if it's really crazy to where they are kind of making Nintendo the good guy to where you can at least buy a physical cartridge. And I don't know if let me look that up. Are the Switch 2 cartridges console locked? Because like what I'm worried about is that if you put a Switch 2 cartridge into mine and then I want to let my friend borrow it, they're not allowed to use it, are not console locked or account locked. Whether you have the standard full cartridge or a game key card, which acts like a physical license that prompts a digital download, the game is tied to the physical card itself, allowing you to freely share or resell your games. That's really great, because at the very least, because at the very least, these game key cards, you can share your game key card with your friend. That's at the very least, even though the cartridge won't have your game anymore, the fact that you can like take it out of your system, give it to your friend, and they can play it without any restrictions, that's great. But with Nintendo now, but with PlayStation, you can't do that. It sounds like in 2028 and 2029, they're planning to be a platform to where, hey, you want to share your game, you want to share your PlayStation, your GTA 8 that's on the PlayStation 6 with your friend. You want to share your PlayStation 6 copy. You cannot share your PlayStation 6 copy, but you can share your Switch 2 game from one person to another. That's wild.
Never thought I'd say that, brother! Good old Nintendo. Smash Brothers Ultimate still costs $59.99 when you go to a store. If they're looking like the heroes now, bruh.
I mean, they're the heroes only because of the game key cards are not console or account locked. You can use your game key card right now, and if you're done with it, give it to your cousin, give it to your nephew. They can have the same experience of getting a new game on Christmas morning like you can, but not with PlayStation anymore.
This means that the digital versions of your games are going to be $10 cheaper, right? It means that games are going to go down to $59.99. We don't have to do all this disc and, all this disc and shit stuff, so you're going to be saving money there. It's not about you guys need to keep the boat afloat. No, it doesn't really seem that way, because every single year you guys make a shit ton of money.
Yeah, PlayStation does.
Yeah, not enough. Not making enough money. So I'd like to think that, just based on that, of course games are going to go down in price because you're only buying them digitally. Of course. That's what it means. We're going to go back to the $59.99 standard. Of course, dude. No. Foolish chat. We got hit with the double whammy for the...
Oh yeah, that's right too. I need to... my PlayStation 3 is right down here. I should make time to buy all the games that I can on the PlayStation 3. I don't know if I should, because again, it's money investment, right? It's an investment to actually just buy games when I should be buying groceries, like as a normal adult, right? As a normal adult, if I have the expense to do so, I should probably try, right?
Full knockout. They're also just getting rid of the PS3 store. And some of you might remember, we talked about this, right? An update to PS3 store and P5 Vita. PS Vita stuff. So, changes to start in this year's Select Mart, followed by global changes in 2027. After 2 decades of supporting the PS3, we wanted to let you know that we're closing the PlayStation Store on PS3 as well as PS Vita. PS Store and PS3 will close in select markets starting this year, followed by global closures of PS3 and Vita next year. This means
the store... Okay.
New content purchases will no longer be possible once the PlayStation Store closes on those devices. To ease the transition, players will be able to download previously purchased content after the closing date for the foreseeable future. That's good, at least. Oh, good, I can download the things I purchase. As the PlayStation Store continues to evolve and support modern commerce systems, including updated payment processing, PS3 and Vita no longer able to support these updates at this level required. Seems like a good excuse. As a result, we will need to close...
Wait. The 3 and Vita are no longer able to support these updates at the level required. As a result, we will need to close. Mexico, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Why those guys? Will close starting August. Latin America and Middle Eastern countries, late 2026. Why is that a thing? And then here's the biggest whammy. Why is it that of all the places, why does PlayStation single out Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua, Latin America, Middle East? Why are they the first to go?
PlayStation Store on these devices and the time frames as follows. And we know this news may be disappointing to PS and Vita players who hold a special place in the hearts of the generation of gaming. PS3 and Vita represent an important era in our PlayStation history, so this was not an easy decision for us to make. So pretty much the first actual fully online generation of PlayStation is about to be cooked. As we continue to expand the PlayStation experience on newer devices that most of our users are playing on today, we need to focus more resources on delivering the best gaming experiences on these platforms as we look ahead towards the future. To our amazing players, we want to give... I don't want to read that part.
Yeah, that's crazy because again, that also means I have to, for me personally, for my own personal use, it's become a situation to where what do you want me to do? Because are you telling me to I mean, it is going to be pushing me to go to my my local stores and just straight up, hey, do you have this PlayStation 3 copy? Great, I'm going to try to buy it from you. Otherwise, what do you want me to do? I don't know what other options do we have if we can't buy. For those who want the ability to buy it, we have a chance to get it, right? But nowadays, it does show an end of an era to where it's incredibly rare to buy old games, and it's incredibly rarer to find devices that still work, right?
This might be familiar news because there's a little video that we made about 5 years ago. These PlayStation 3 games are about to vanish. I pretty much show people in this video, and I can also link it so that you guys can watch it here and get an understanding of what you should be paying attention to and what you should probably go pick up before it's gone forever. There was a ton of games that were about to be taken offline on PS3 that were only available through their stores through digital means. There's still some amazing goddamn fighting games especially that remain on the PS3 only, and really cool Sega arcade games, man, that are pretty much just stuck to digital means. They were never released physically, dude. This was the entire reason why we went through the whole free MVC2.
And that's crazy. I regret missing out on grabbing games that we can't play anymore. Because the fact that, if this is true, and it is true, the fact that there are games that were only released digitally and I can't find that in the wild anymore, that's crazy. That's like saying, hey, you can't go to Disney anymore. That sucks, but
era, because once MVC2 got pulled license-wise, there was no way to pick up the game. There were so few physical versions with codes in them made that was not a reliable resource for you to go out and buy it, because if you bought, dude, if you actually bought an empty case of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for PS3 and it had a code in it, if the code still worked, which I think they ran out after a certain period of time, that shit was going for $300 before the collection came out. Before there were resources to actually play these games nowadays, that shit cost $300.
For just a code. And that's crazy because for just a code, that was the price for these permissions to buy and download it.
It was that hard to get MVC2 on a PlayStation 3 back then. It was that hard. Once the license was gone in 2014, you're done. Why would you play old games? Why would you watch old movies? Why would you listen?
Yeah, why would you play old games? Old music. Why would you listen to old music? Man, it's like telling you in 2 years to where, hey, for some reason We can't listen to Michael Jackson anymore. We can't listen to Red Hot Chili Peppers. We can't listen to the Police anymore for some reason. And then in the next 20 years, who is Taylor Swift? You can't play. You're going to be so upset in the next 20 years that you can't play Taylor Swift. And it's too bad.
Listen to old music. Why would you read old books? Why would you be inspired by old speeches? Oh, Jesus Christ, bro. There are several goddamn amazing fighting games that I would not recommend you play online all the time, but would recommend that they're definitely worth checking out. And for the sake of like preservation, many of these titles are just about to be unavailable in the very near future, including a shit ton of classic PlayStation emulation games.
Xenogear.
So what happened? This was 5 years ago. Like, why is this happening now? Well, they got so much pushback in that time frame that Sony was like, shit, well, I guess people are into this shit. Okay, no, leave it up. And they did. And it was like, whoa, did we just win? So a lot of people that bought these games were like, oh, I bought all these games, but I'm glad I have them now because I didn't even know that this shit existed. So it was like, well, now you're actually aware that this shit exists and it's incredibly cool and it's worth checking out, you know? All I gotta say is that this video is relevant again. The fact that they turned around on this as well as also turning around on everything else at the same time is like, I think it's the full breadth. Games aren't for everybody anymore. And as much as
in my own personal headcanon, I'm wondering if this is the fact that they're and again, my understanding is that it doesn't even cost them anything to just print the physical media, because now like I have a bunch of like articles and like Twitter posts about this, but I saw a post to where the factories that were making their Blu-ray discs are now being repurposed. Originally, those factories that made those Blu-ray discs were not a net negative to Sony, and now all of a sudden they are. Like, I wonder if it's because of the Concord tax, of the live service tax. Like, because of Concord failing, they need to make up that $400 million somewhere, right? They need to make up their $500 million game from somewhere, yeah, because the game failed. There's probably a lot of live service games that Sony tried to do. There's Babylon Falls. They need to make up the financial loss of that game, right? They gotta figure out how to make up these financial losses.
I joke that this means that maybe the prices of games will go down because you don't have to make physical. Maybe this means that things will become $10 cheaper. That's what I would like to think happens. In this situation, Sony's about to not have a lot of competition. They're about to be like all left by their lonesome. So now they're gonna have like a giant market share where they're not really gonna tap into the Nintendo market at all. They're gonna be sort of sitting around for their own audience, doing their own thing for quite some time in the near future. So I think they see that and they're like, so what can we get away with? It's what it feels like. We went through this in the PlayStation 3 generation, chat. This is the entire bullshit of arrogant Sony. I hate to say that it's a thing, but we went through a period of time where Sony was on our side, dude. Like, they were with us. Sony isn't really battling Nintendo. Nintendo isn't really battling Sony. They live in separate places.
Yeah, they're in a place to where nobody's fighting each other anymore. And so now they're in a position to where, now that we're not in competition, what can we get away with? Nintendo got away with certain things. Pokemon International is attempting to file a lawsuit with Power World. I don't know if it succeeded or not. I think it failed in some parts, but it's crazy to like just think that it's crazy that we're a company. The fact that Xbox left the console wars means it's just the both of us, two Japanese companies. We're gonna shake hands with each other that we won the war with the West, and so you'll take this half of the world, I'll take this half, and we're all happy about it.
Of existence, like it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or some shit. So they're back to being kind of arrogant Sony after really being on everybody's side in the PlayStation 4 era. For me personally, the PS4 era was my favorite era of PlayStation. I have a lot of nostalgia for the PS1 era, don't get me wrong, but for me, really sitting around and playing a lot of different games and streaming on the PS4 era was godlike, man. It was absolutely godlike. I loved the PS4, provided some of my favorite game experiences of all time. What a fucking system, dude. All these things are still
It's
mostly
great.
PS4 games.
Still a
dude.
good
They just
console.
Run at better frame rates.
Like
and
my
look at
console that's been with me from when I moved out of my parents, it is going extremely strong since 2015, 2014. Extremely strong. It's still going extremely strong.
bit better. And we're still chasing that generation, and I don't think that's going to change much in the PlayStation 6 either. Outside of load times, I don't know if things are going to shift that much. I think what it's boiling down to, and what this eventually leads to, is that gaming isn't for everybody anymore. What I really hate about this is that video games have been a medium that can allow people to get into them because they are for folks, just in general, that may not have a ton of money to spend to fulfill their time. Gaming hasn't always been a luxury. It's been kind of a nice commodity for people to have entertainment and have things to do without spending an absolute arm and a leg. With that,
yeah, because like there was a time where back in the day, we couldn't take you to Disney, we couldn't take you to Las Vegas, we couldn't take you to we couldn't take you to Disney, but what we could get you was some hours of solace through video games, through books, through these things, to where the next best thing to getting tickets to Disneyland on Christmas was getting a console. The next best thing to going to Disneyland was to get a game that would fulfill 20, 40, 80, 100 hours of your time when things were difficult with school, things were difficult with your job, things were difficult with just being a person. And now that gaming has it's really crazy to where, because gaming has exploded so much, it's now become a place to where even gaming is like pushing people out. It's now becoming almost an ecosystem to where my nephews and nieces in the next 5-10 years, their introduction to gaming will either be on their parents' phone or like a tablet. I don't think they'll be in a position to like accept a PC, because having a PC as a gaming device is extremely overstimulating for a kid. Like I want to see a kid on Christmas just getting their first Pokemon game. My brother's first Pokemon game on Christmas was a Pokemon Red, and then for my first Pokemon game, it was Pokemon Silver on Christmas. The Christmas day was when I first had like my red Game Boy Advance SP with Ruby on it, and then the list goes on to where I don't think in the next 5-10 years that'll be an experience that kids will have anymore, and this doesn't help.
Being said, it feels like we're starting to get to a point where video games are going to be like Vegas, where they're just going to be for a certain amount of people that have the money to afford it. And clearly the next generation of systems that are going to be coming out ain't going to be under $1,000, dude. This stuff's about to be ridiculously goddamn expensive. Like, really expensive.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Yeah, PlayStation 4. Like, I love that.
The good old days. We can go back.
We could go back.
First.
Yeah, it's incredibly wild. Like, but please, everybody, please, if you don't know who Maximilian is, please follow him. This is great. It's incredibly wild to where, and again, it's wild because we live in a society to where we believed gaming was going to be around now. So the worst case scenario I see is in the next 5 years. Yeah, he's absolutely right to where as of right now, consoles and devices to play games are creeping into the price range of computers, to where the Steam box alone is $1,000. PlayStation, Xbox, $600 with the controller, I think, and then it's wild to where nowadays, and even children are being priced out of Pokemon, and I don't think that was supposed to happen, but I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. Lycan? Shaman? Yeah, man, like it's incredibly wild to where I don't think we will experience gaming in the same way. Wait, what? Let me check this out. Was this the blog that we were reading? Okay. Yeah, man, this is not good news. Yeah, it's like yeah, this doesn't bring joy. And I just feel bad. Hold on. There was a thing about was this no, oh, that's not what I want. What was it? I thought about it because yeah, might as well check out on while we're here, might as well check on what Asmongold has to say, because there's apparently a hot take regarding his opinion on Sony's decision to move away from physical media. Now, what's the worst thing that he could? What is the worst thing that Asmongold could have said? Because I will say, for him at least, in my understanding of the world of Asmongold, he is a huge PC gamer. And I'm sure he's had experiences of like physical media, but let's hear him first, because I don't know how bad it could be.
This is that people are getting a false sense of security about owning the piece of plastic, as if that actually gives them any privilege. You can still get hardware locked, you can still be software locked. Please do not miss the forest from the trees. The holy grail is consumer protections laws and regulations. Please stop thinking that because you own a disc, you have any sort of immutable right over the copyrighted content that you own. Please don't do that. You can dog on me and shit on me and try to disprove me with everything else, but please do not lose sight of the end goal, which is better consumer protections, because nothing else will solve this problem. And I dislike the foundation of this, which implies that digital ownership should come with less consumer protections. Foundationally and just ideologically, I dislike that. And I don't think that's the way it should be. Is that people are getting a false sense of security about owning the piece of plastic, as if that actually gives them any privilege. You can still...
I mean, the sense of security... I don't know how I feel about this, because the sense of security that we get from owning physical media is the idea that I can play... Is the fact that I can play... Oh, God. I need examples. Oh God, I don't mind you. I don't mind the things that you spit, but geez, let me just find something to talk about, because what can I do? What can I do? God. Because let's take Resident Evil 2 for example. I had the disc. The disc is beautiful. Because like the sense of security for me, the sense of security, I cannot talk. The sense of security that this piece of plastic provides me is that I can play this PlayStation 4 Resident Evil 2 game on my PlayStation 4, on an older PlayStation 4, on a Slim, on a Pro, and I can give this to my nephew in the next 5 years, and as long as we have a working device, then he can play that game. Granted, it may not be a game for a 5-year-old, but that is a thing that he can do. That's just the thing about it. Like, the fact of us being able to play, this is Animal Crossing. The cartridge is still there. Yeah, the cartridge is still there. It's still fine. But yeah, that's the thing about it, right? Is the fact that the ability to play games, and like, shoot, even like the ability to play Bloodborne, which is a game that people have loved for the past 10 years. I can give this to my I didn't know what that was, but anyways, it's like the sense of security that I don't know that he's aware of is the fact that I can bring this across the world in the next 5 years. As long as my PlayStation 4 is taken care of, I can still play this game in 5 years. Or my nephew, or my, like, the next person, right? You can still...
You'll get hardware locked. You can still be software locked. Please do not miss the forest from the trees.
I mean, the only way that we can be software locked and system locked again is if we don't play the appropriate copy. I don't think I can simply put my English Resident Evil into a Japanese console and be fine, right? That's a region lock. I can understand that. If I'm software locked, it may look like me not being able to, like, play on a broken PlayStation. That makes sense, but
the holy grail is consumer protections laws and regulations. Please stop thinking that because you own a disc, you have any sort of immutable right over the copyrighted content that you own.
But isn't that the point of, like, Stop Killing Games? Is the fact that, like, because, like, sure, there are, like, certain games that can be played offline. I mean, he's not wrong. What he's saying isn't wrong either, and the people arguing aren't wrong either. The Holy Grail is consumer. The Holy Grail is consumer protections, protection laws and regulations. Yeah. Okay. Sure. So that means, like, how do I know how does this mean to me? Please stop thinking about that because you own it. Please stop thinking of that because you own a disc, you have any sort of immutable right over the copyright content that you own. I mean, it's not like I'm not sure where this is coming from to where, I mean, I have a right to play it, I have the right to display it, I have the right to share it, but by all means, the action of burning copies of that disc, I don't think we can anymore. You can buy, I guess you could buy, like, disk drives and, like, burn one disc onto another and make bootleg copies, right? You could technically do that. He's not wrong in this position either. He's not wrong. And the arguments against them, which we'll go through in the thread, aren't wrong either.
Please don't do that. You can dog on me and shit on me and try to disprove me with everything else, but please do not lose sight of the end goal, which is better consumer protections, because nothing else will solve this problem. And I dislike the foundation of this, which implies that digital ownership should come with less consumer protections. Foundationally, and just
because, like, I do agree to the fact that, like, the consumer protections for physical media should also be the same kind of consumer protections that we have on digital media, because digital media almost has no protection, to where when you buy a digital game on Steam, Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, you are buying the license permission to play it, right? But that also means, but it comes to the caveats to where, like, say, hey, all of a sudden my PC, if I guess what he's trying to say is like, it's more important to, it is, I agree that it's more important to like include digital games into the same consumer protections that physical media has. People, but it's I don't know why people are dogging on him, but let's like see down below, I guess. See this? I don't want to get see this. I don't want them to get rid of physical copies because that's how I've got practically all my games, with the exception of here and there. But we do need protective laws to ensure that we don't get shafted still by game companies. I mean, that makes sense. Like, I don't. It's incredibly crazy to where back in the day, 5 years ago, digital games were cheaper than physical. We all knew this, and we chalked it up to where the price, the service that it takes, the amount of time that it takes to go to the factory, tell the factory to make the game. They make the disc, they package it up, they send it to GameStop or to Fry's Electronics, and then we buy it. That makes sense. The entire process from factory to distributor to consumer, that makes sense. I don't mind paying the extra $10 or something to get a physical copy, right? But it's something entirely to but it is also true that people want to know that they own it, and at this point we live in a society to where if you don't maintain your passwords and accounts appropriately, you lose everything in that account. That makes some kind of sense to where you have the responsibility of the content that you purchase, right? What do you mean? But he literally does not know what he's talking about. Physical copies are the only way to truly own your video games. The overwhelming majority of PlayStation games can in fact be installed and played fully offline. But again, like, the games are it depends, right? Well, actually, that is a good question. Can you play? Do you need the internet to access your Steam library if games are installed onto PC? You don't need you don't need a constant internet connection. You can play your installed games offline using Steam Offline mode. However, you need internet access at least once to log in, authenticate your ownership, and enable the offline feature. Okay, so like so there is an argument to, like, the argument where Axel is making is absolutely correct, to where off rip, if I'm offline, if I don't have the access to the internet, I can't simply turn on my computer and start playing Monster Hunter, right? The process for me to play my PC copy of Monster Hunter is to first turn on my computer, and then when I switch the Steam needs to authenticate my ownership by using the internet, and then I can go hog wild on it, right? That's my understanding. To where, but that's the thing, to where, like, but I could, but then that's the conversation to where I can, same example, I can be in Hawaii, I could have, no, I could be in the desert and somehow have a generator turn on a computer, turn on a monitor or TV. Like, yeah, like the conversation, the important thing about having physical ownership of your games is the fact that I can go to China and on day one before no that might not be a good example, but the fact is I can go to somebody else's home and put my game in their console and start it up without the requirements of the internet, right? Offline mode would mean that I can insert this game into their console. It downloads the game into the console because it's able to do that because the information's on this disc. And then I can play Resident Evil 2 on their console pre-update. Because there's a specific 1.000 version of this game on this disc, allegedly, right? So I can go to Chris's house. I can put this into Chris's computer, Chris's PlayStation 4, and without waiting for the internet, I can play this game as it is without the updates. I think that's the argument. But when it comes to like digital ownership, there is also GOG, I think, too. But the point is, like, if you have Steam needs to authenticate your permission to own it, right? So there's that argument. It's because Asmund forgets that physical does mean you 100% own it despite a software lock, because you can make sure your console isn't connected to the internet. And that won't happen. I never turned on the internet for... Yeah, that's right. That makes sense. I mean, you don't need the internet for the Wii U, for the Switch, or PlayStation 3 to play your games, right? As long as the game is on your console, you can play it without the internet. That makes sense. I think Asmund is forgetting that physical copies means you own it. Yeah, so like the physical copy means that you don't need somebody to authenticate that you own it, right? He's pushing this false equivalency as if this has been a decades-old issue. Thus, is a current generation console problem, starting by Steam sales and continued by Sony and Microsoft. Yeah, because like Xbox and Sony and Nintendo, they've been selling physical games for a very long time, right? So all those physical games that they've sold, they have the ability to play as long as you put them into a device that can read that information. As long as that software is taken care of correctly, you can play that game. Does not take away from the fact that Asmund seems to have more of a beef with people who want to own their media than with the corporations trying to control everything. I mean, I don't know what that means, but none of this matters if servers get shut down or infrastructure fails. Plus, the less robust a physical copy is, the less value it retains, and people should be able to invest in physical media that's completely independent of the internet. Yeah, like the ultimate goal, like I don't know why that's a thing. That's incredibly wild. But like I can see where he's upset. I can see where he's trying to like get people off his back. But again, that's like saying I know you can still be software locked, but it doesn't change the situation to where. But does the chance of being software locked change the fact that if the internet's dead, can you still play this game? You turn off your computer, you turn it back on, the internet's dead. Can you still play your game that's bought through Steam or Epic? Steam, definitely no. Let me see if I can rephrase that. Hold on. What about Epic? You don't need you still need the internet to get the launcher to authenticate your purchase though. What about Xbox library? You must enable offline. You must enable offline permissions on the Xbox app while connected to the internet before you play offline. Okay. That makes sense. But that's the thing. Like, you have to. Both things have a situation where you need to set it up first before you can open. You can turn on your play your games off rip. That's just the crux of it. That's just the crux of it, and that's like the situation. So I mean, Asmon, you're right. I don't know if you're addressing the other concerns to where, like, yes, you can still be software locked, like that. Because again, let me hear it again.
Ideologically is that people are getting a false sense of security about owning the piece of plastic, as if that actually gives them any privilege. You can still get hardware locked.
If I'm in the forest, I have the privilege of still playing the game. If it's feature complete, even if I delete all the save files and the existence of it on my PlayStation, I can just take this to camp where there's no internet and still play it. I can't do that if I digitally own games. Shoot, even with the PlayStation 4, I need to like turn it on. Like, as long as my games are on the console and the external hard drive, I can play it for whenever I want, right? But when it comes to like turning off the internet, most games need the authentication of the app that you bought it from.
You can still be software locked. Please do not miss the forest from the trees. The holy grail is consumer protections laws and regulations.
And you're absolutely right about the consumer protections. You need to extend physical media protections onto digital as well. There was even a lawsuit for PlayStation, I think, to where people chose to buy. I think there was a certain lawsuit to where people chose to buy the digital media, the digital library of people's films on their consoles were somehow removed, or like at least like it's not re-downloadable. They couldn't re-download the movie that they purchased because of the practices from PlayStation, I think.
Please stop thinking that because you own a disc, you have any sort of immutable right over the copyrighted content that you own. Please don't do that. You can dog on me and shit on me and try to disprove me with everything else, but please do not lose sight of the end goal, which is better consumer protections, because nothing else will solve this problem. And I dislike the foundation of this, which implies that digital ownership should come with less consumer protections.
But it does, though. Wait, hold on, what?
And I dislike the foundation of this, which implies that digital ownership should come with less consumer protections.
But wait, what? But digital ownership, but media that you buy digitally do have less.
Foundationally and just ideologically, I dislike that problem, and I dislike the foundation of this, which implies that digital ownership should come with less consumer protection.
Digital ownership should come with less. But that's what the companies do, though. Isn't that right, though? Because I don't think... I mean, I'm sure Asmongold understands the fact that even on the user agreement for Steam, for the PlayStation Store and Xbox Store and Nintendo Store, they all say this. They all say the same line to where when you purchase this through the thing, through the store, it gives you permission. It gives you the license, the permission to play the game, right? Versus owning it. You don't, because like the moment you, it gives the company the right to like revoke your access if they have a reason to believe so. And for the normal consumer, they wouldn't give they shouldn't have a reason to revoke that right. But that's the thing. If my copy of Monster Hunter on PC, I don't own it. I own the permission to play it, but I don't own that game. That part I don't understand from Asbin. Just help me. If anybody can help me like explain that, I don't know. I don't know. Asmongold hot take. Do I believe Asmund? I believe that he has. I believe where his perspective is coming from. I'm unsure if it's addressing the right questions because, again, there's a situation where it doesn't change the huge problem that says, hey, Steam and Valve can do whatever they want if they. It doesn't change the underlying agreement that like, yes, everybody, the large majority of the people who buy a game off the digital store, from the large majority has a belief that this is how when I buy Final Fantasy 16 through this portal, that means I own it. We have that huge belief, right? We have that belief that applies to buying stuff from Walmart online and things like that. But people often forget that there's a user agreement that another group of people don't acknowledge, right? That there's another like part of this equation that people don't like bring up and talk about because people forget that. It's like forgetting how you to dot your T's and dot your I's and cross your T's. It's a thing that people forget to like mention. I don't know, man. I don't know if that's the right take. I'll be back. Okay. Okay, so before we start playing some games, I want to go over this. I want to at least go over this before we start changing activities, right? Apparently, I don't know if it's someone's discovering it or if it's just like a new clause that's been happening recently, to where Sony can close inactive PlayStation accounts after 3 years. If the account's closed, access to digital purchases tied to it is lost. You may close your account by contacting us using the details. If you have not used your account for at least 36 months, so 3 years, we may take steps to close it. In that case, we will contact you via the email address registered to your account and give you 6 months to either log into your account or contact us and tell us to keep your account open. After your account is closed, you will not be able to access the PlayStation Online services or use the digital products purchased with that account. I honestly don't know where this is like the hot take, to where like I don't know why people are getting upset by this. Like I understand a situation where I honestly I don't know where the outrage is, because we're in a situation where like number one thing to like point out that if you don't want to lose your stuff, then like but that's just the craziest thing about this like thing, is to where we have to think about reasons why people would be inactive from your PlayStation. Would you be inactive from the PlayStation because there are no more games for you? Would you stop using the PlayStation because life got busy? Like 3 years is an incredibly relaxed position from PlayStation, because you're telling me that in the next 3 years you're not gonna have it. It's wild, to where I think this outrage is a nothing burger. I think I am thankful that somebody's raising this awareness that like, hey, they're gonna close your account if you're not active for like 3 years. That makes sense. That makes sense, to where if you're not actively using this, that makes some kind of sense. I don't know the argument against this, because even on YouTube, if the channel is not regular, if the channel stops posting videos after 2 years, if the last video is 2 years old or more, then yeah, that YouTube channel is probably dead. Same thing with this, I guess, to where like if you didn't feel compelled to turn on your PlayStation 4, turn on your PlayStation 5 and play a game, like we live in a society to where games are being released regularly. There are games being even released next year. There's Resident Evil Veronica, there is the Onimusha Way of the Sword, there's Final Fantasy VII Revelations, there is GTA 6, there is Pragmata, there is Bayonetta, I think still. I don't know. There is a bunch of games that the PlayStation console can give you access to, and the PlayStation Store for the PlayStation 4 will not be closed anytime soon. It is extremely strange that in the article for the PlayStation 3 store, Eastern countries and Mexico, Nicaragua, for some specific reason, were the first ones to start turning off their stores and in August. I don't know why. Then Latin America and Middle Eastern countries is next later in the year. Again, I don't know why. And it's incredibly crazy to where that is a thing. Where it makes, in some ways, this makes reasonable sense. To where, hey, do you plan on... There's a couple questions you have to ask your friend, right? Well, is there a logical reason that you are not using your PlayStation? Are you too busy working? Are you busy raising a kid? Are you busy? Is the barrier of entry to the internet expensive? The PlayStation subscription sometimes is even a joke. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't be playing your PlayStation 3 in the 3 years, right? Yeah, let's check this out first. Don't use PlayStation. Yeah, do that and stop. Yeah, stop complaining about it. Ultimately, if you're upset about your account being deactivated or like closing, then don't leave it inactive for 3 years. What else? Unfair. I have a PlayStation 5 and I love it, but I don't play it that much. Yeah, that's the thing about it. Like, I honestly, but that is Wickstrom's fault, honestly, to where in his scenario he's not playing it that much because there's no games to bring him back to the PlayStation 5. If you have the Switch and the Xbox as well, you should have games that bring you back to it, right? Props are fucking everything. Props are everything because the discussion, sometimes people are visual learners, yeah? They need props. They need a diagram. I wish I had a whiteboard here to make a point. But like for the purpose of conversation, I have a Switch. I would have never had a Switch. I would never have had this. I would never have had the Switch if my brother did not give me Pokemon Scarlet. And it's a very funny situation to where 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the only reason why we had a Game Boy Color was to play Pokemon. And in a very funny, like, thing around, the only reason why I had a Game Boy Advance SP was because of Pokemon Ruby. I started playing... I actually don't remember why. Let me see. Let me look up. Hold on. Let me look up. Pokemon games on the Nintendo DS. New DS. New 3DS. Pokemon XY. Yeah. Pokemon XY. I played Pokemon XY, and I finished XY, I think. I'm thinking about the new 3DS, right? What was I thinking about? I was thinking about... Yeah, I have the new... Props. Wait, where's my prop? Where's my beautiful prop? I have it. There's a point to this conversation. There is a point to this conversation. Try to grab it as quickly as I can. Is it in the shoebox? Is it? Please. Nope, it's not in the shoebox. Where? You know what? Where the fuck? Where? Why? I do have. Oh, God. Because it's a beautiful relic. It's a beautiful piece of technology. Where is it? I need to look for it at some point. But I do have a Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch is in its Nintendo case. I know that. Where is it? Huh. I know I have it. 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 I know that I have it. Where is it? You'd imagine that if I had this conversation in my head, or planned this conversation, I would have this prop ready. But no. You're going to see the light of God for a second. Where could it be? Where could it be? I know I have it. Where? I do need this too, but that's not it. Oh! It was right over here the whole time. I should probably charge it too. It should still work. I have a new 3DS. Actually, let me see if I can actually plug it in. Let me see if it's. I don't think it's working. I think I even think that the Nintendo 3DS store is closed. I think the servers for that's closed. Is the official Nintendo 3DS store is closed. You can no longer add funds. You can no longer buy games on it. They've been permanently shut 3 years ago. Wait, what's the battery status? Yeah, so this, the light balance. This is I can't even, I doubt I can even access the 3D store, but I doubt it. Because I think all the games that I bought, all the games that I've ever played on this, yeah. So I'll put this away, but let's turn it off properly. Yeah, so I need to be on the hunt for 3DS games because this physical media, the access, the ability to buy games for this game is non-existent. I cannot buy games for this device anymore. But the point being, what's the point? Right? I don't know what the point is, right? Where's my point? You know, I'm gonna tell you. What that sounds like what that sounds like to me is that there are games. There are more attractive games to play on the other devices than there are on the PS5. Unless you purposely buy a game that you love to come back to, you'll see it as often as you do a distant relative. Let's spell check that one purposefully, yeah. Cause that's honestly like the takeaway. That's honestly my takeaway from his example is the fact that, if you like, that's the point where like, what is it? You are juggling. You're juggling a PlayStation 5. You're juggling a Switch. I don't know which Switch. There's also an Xbox. You have a phone. You have a PC probably because it is a non-zero chance that you have a PC. But there's already 5 things that you're juggling on top of your other activities for your daily, right? That's just the whole thing to where that's the whole thing. I don't know where you're coming from to where I don't know where the rage is coming from where if you haven't played it in 3 years, I don't know the game. I don't know that there will be a game that will convince you to come back to it, right? Much like how I'm in the predicament to where if I want to play more games on my Nintendo devices here, I either have to go out of my way to find a 3DS game that's affordable, right? I have to go out of my way to find a 3DS game that's affordable because the 3DS store is closed. I can never digitally purchase a 3DS game anymore. But if I find those cartridges like intentionally, then I can put a cartridge in there. Even currently right now, I'm playing Bravely Default 2, I think. The only reason that I'm regularly playing on the Nintendo 3DS and the Nintendo Switch is because they are tools that I use to do cardio. I'm on the treadmill or I am walking at work, purposefully using these devices But if you don't give yourself reasons to use them, then you won't use them. That's just really like point of the matter. Where is this cable coming from? Okay, now we're back to normal, right? Yeah, but honestly, that's crazy for me to think that 3 years is a bad thing. That buying isn't owning, then pirating and stealing. Why are people silly? The account deletion clause after 3 years was in the contract 10 years ago. Legal defense, no one's account will be deleted. The same contract also states that you can't sell discs and a bunch of other stuff. So almost all the companies do this. It's not even remotely unusual or uncommon. Account closures due to inactivity has been in the terms of service since 2009. Yeah, that makes a whole bunch of sense. Yeah, like for them to take action after 3 years is pretty generous, followed by an additional 6 months. So you have like almost 4 years, and if you lose your account, that's ultimately your responsibility. So like I don't know where this outrage is. Like being mad about discs is a huge thing, because like this is a single player, like in the example of GTA 6. The game itself is meant to be a feature complete game for a single player experience before they consider the ability to even do multiplayer. They're focusing on a single player experience, and most of these games that are on discs are intended for a single player experience or local co-op. And you're telling me that you're going to be upset that, oh, if you have not played this console in 3 years, what makes you think you're going to play the console at all? Because technology is constantly getting better. Technology is constantly like changing the way people play games and consume media. Like, shoot, that's the craziest thing, to where like, again, like sure, maybe you want to dust off your, I don't know, it's crazy because like, again, like, hold on. That, again, that makes sense, to where like this clause in itself should convince you even further for physical media preservation, right? This should be a bigger reason to promote the preservation of physical media, and for PlayStation to like continually invest in it. All my games, Switch pieces like that to rebuy several titles. I would rather do that than keep physical access. What? What's the... I don't... Gentlemen, Sony's policy has entered a new policy. Abstract state of pro-consumerism. Like, I you know what? I don't understand. You know what? I don't understand it. I mean, I guess in a way, Sony does gain its value back by, what is it? By closing the account. I mean, I guess that's the takeaway, to where, like, hey, you don't use this anymore. That's okay. We're just gonna take this back for free. Sure, I guess. But ultimately, there's a situation where if you don't, in the same vein that's YouTube. If you don't post, if you have a YouTube account that you plan to post videos on regularly, if you don't post onto a specific account for over 2 years or more, that account's probably dead. If you don't use your accounts, if you don't use your PlayStation for more than 3 years, there's a pretty good reason why most people would not touch a device after 3 years. Like, if anything else, I only touched my PlayStation, my Nintendo 3DS again because I wanted a distraction while I was walking, while I was doing cardio, or like I've fallen back to the intended use of playing on the go. I didn't want to have games on my phone anymore, so I am digging these up again. And shoot, if I'm lucky, I'll check out if there's any like 3DS game vendors, and like if a vendor sells a 3DS game, then I'll probably buy one. I don't know. I don't know what the takeaway is, but I think the outrage is crazy. Let me see. Yeah, I sometimes I don't know what the takeaway is for some people. But I think I will. A lot of okay, never mind. Turns out it's getting a lot worse. I'm seeing two, one from Pirate Nation, and then this one too. So to continue on from the last thing that we just watched, this whole thing about closing your account is apparently due to an EU regulation. Japanese and American companies are making changes based on Euro-Asia demands, I guess. But then that makes sense to where, like, didn't the Stop Killing Games thing start in the Euro courts? I don't know. YouTube revealed the propaganda push the UK wants to do. Australia is trying to prevent social media from ratioing on social media. The EU is making companies delete data. Okay. Europeans can't have AC, can't have guns, can't have their digital accounts unless they sign in regularly. I mean, signing in regularly is, I guess, it's crazy to do that, sure. Like, I understand to where making them like if you sign in at least once a month, then you're good. Otherwise, access to your console may be limited. That's crazy. It's a weird push, and I don't know where the direction is going. I see a situation where, hey, I'm convinced I'm wondering if this kind of scare is a way to like scare people into using their devices, to like scare them. Hey, you don't want to lose access to this, right? So you better start using it. And then like, oh, you might as well do this, and that. And you know what? To be fair, is why no AC in Europe? Europe lacks widespread air conditioning primarily because summers were historically mild. The cooling deficit also stems from the strict regulations protecting historic aesthetics, high energy costs, and a reliance on passive architecture like thick masonry and exterior shutters. Okay, I mean the fact that AC, it's can have their digital accounts unless they sign the regular. I don't know where this is coming from. This sounds like an American, like bringing this up. Deserve their grief and deserve to suffer for bending them. They opened redundant offices in European countries, all staffed with nothing but. Oh god. Somebody's incredibly angry. Huh. I mean, this almost sounds like a. This sounds like a push that's related to like PlayStation's push for live service. I think, yeah, because like, how else would you play live service games if you're not regularly accessing your account, right? And this is supposed to scare people, I guess, into like habit, I guess, into patterns, to where like, hey, I'm gonna scare you to make you to take away your stuff. No, don't take away my access. Don't take away my stuff. Please, I'll turn on my PlayStation. Please, I'll access my account. I'll turn on my PlayStation. Please don't take my stuff away. Don't take my stuff away. I can see that. All they do is God. Like this entire sentence turns me off. I don't know why. It just kind of turns me off. Buy PC and use Steam. It's way cheaper on the long run. You're not wrong, but also it's getting more expensive because of the parts you need for a PC. But anyways, like this is what I saw first too. First, a lot of PC owners. This is the first main thing I saw. A lot of PC owners are becoming interested in jailbreaking their consoles after Sony announced it will stop releasing new PlayStation games on physical discs. A jailbroken PS5 can run homebrew. I want this one. Can run homebrew emulators, apps, and other unofficial software. That makes a lot of sense to where, I mean, it's nothing uncommon to where back in the day, 2,000 years ago, people jailbroke the PSPs, people jailbroke PlayStation 3s. People have jailbroken devices for as long as there has been a barrier with consumption, if that makes sense. To where piracy happens in some parts of the world when it comes to video games and media because the accessibility is not available, right? So what do you do in a place that can't access these mediums? If you can't buy them through the normal channels, or if they're incredibly expensive through the normal channels, then people have many options, right? For example, there's been a lot of situations to where when people couldn't play certain Nintendo games, they referred to Dolphin or Melon to play these emulators because the access and ability to afford these was extremely high. Playing Nintendo games alone has a barrier of entry of $400, $500 even before you pay the $80, $70, $60 price tag of a game. And controllers alone also have the barrier of entry of $60, $80 if you want to bring in your nephew to play with you. If you want to play a 2-player game, if you want to play a 4-player game at home with your family, you need to fork over $400, $500 for the Switch 2, another $80 for another pair of Nintendo Switch 2 controllers, and you also have to fork, you have to fork like $80 for the game itself. So you're looking at $600 just so that you can play Mario Party with 4 people at home. That barrier of entry, incredibly expensive. Oh wait, but you have to like download some updates maybe before you can even start playing. You can either do that at a coffee shop that has free Wi-Fi, or you spend another $100, $200. I don't know what it is, but there's another financial barrier of entry to have internet at home too. I'm lucky enough that me and my roommates have internet that we split up amongst ourselves. The barrier of entry is still right there. It's crazy. It's crazy. Please, players see it as a way to preserve games and keep older titles working in the future if Sony decides to start removing games one day. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, because like back in the day, again, the consumer practice was not great, but I was introduced to the concepts of jailbreaking my PSP, and jailbreaking my PSP gave me the accessibility to play the majority of the Star Ocean games on my PSP. It gave me the option to play certain Game Boy Advance games and Game Boy Color games on my PSP. I got to play several titles of PSP games because of the jailbreak before the red light of death. But again, like it provided that's where it doesn't change the fact that it gave us the ability to play games back in the day. So there is a chance that jailbreaking is coming back. Shoot, there's been some people that have had to like jailbreak a PlayStation 4 just for the opportunity to do a randomizer for Bloodborne, right? You can't even play Bloodborne on like the PC or PlayStation 5 anymore. You can wait, hold on, can you? Bloodborne on PS5, is that possible? Bloodborne does not have a native PlayStation 5 version. You can play the original 4 on your 5 via backward compatibility, but it remains locked at 180p. Okay. Yeah, so you have to like, that's the thing. Even having the option, hold on. Yeah, like, it's crazy to where, like, even just to do randomizer, even to just perform a randomizer, like, you have to go through all these loops just for the option to do that. So, the option of gaming has been incredibly wide and narrow. Piracy is a huge thing. Since they want to go all digital, this is the best way to go for console gaming, is hacking it and playing other emulators. Especially since the PS5 can run Linux and do a lot more gaming stuff than standard OS. Interesting. The weird thing on their thinking is that they believe more will buy through store, but in reality, people will just go to PC. I know most games are sold digitally already, but it's the principle of it. Yeah, like, it's people, like, even though PlayStation is trying to push towards a digital future, at the very least when it comes to playing games on Steam versus playing games on the PlayStation, we knew what we were getting. But when it comes to playing a PlayStation game, it hurts more because we know what we lost, if that makes sense. If I all of a sudden buy a PlayStation 6 game, I know that comes with understanding that I lost the ability, that I don't have the ability of physical media. That comes with knowing that I lost chance of media preservation by playing a PlayStation 6 with physical media, because like the PlayStation 5 comes in two forms, in the with and without the disk drive, and that's a pretty big issue for a lot of people, right? Sony did not think this well, but much of what they've done in the past years, it's been the case. Hopium, this whole thing will crash and burn. Wait, join the dark side. He has 3 PlayStations. It's incredibly wild. But no, that's like the idea. I think it's fun to where the idea that people are going to be jailbreaking brings me back to 2012. Brings me back to 2013. 2012, 2013 was the age of piracy. And oftentimes there was a clip, I think from Bungie, to where or Xbox's, a clip where their primary concern when it came to their games wasn't people pirating it. Their concern is to make a good game and make it accessible. The reason why people turn to pirating games, or the reason why people would, even the point of piracy is based on accessibility. Accessibility comes in the forms of, is the game affordable? Is the game available in my area? But most importantly, is the game affordable? If the game is not affordable, people often find piracy cheaper. People would first go to the local, like, half-price books or something like that and think to themselves, can I buy this here cheaper than the PlayStation Network? Can I buy it on Amazon cheaper than the PlayStation Network? And if those avenues are too expensive, emulate it. Emulation has been around for a long time, and I can see a situation where people see this as the only way to go forward. Again, I'm not at a place to advocate for piracy. I just know that it is a choice. Piracy is the option for people who can't access ABC. Yeah? I don't know. I don't know what the point is, but it is interesting, and it is pretty eye-opening to where that this shows a concern, and I don't know if Sony's gonna address it, because they've been roasted the past week. People have been dogging on them for the past week, and I can only hope good change comes out of it. I'm not sure. But enough about that. Enough about social media, right? God. Wait, what is this? Yeah, no, it's actually. Oh, yeah, no. One of the funniest thing too is that, like, PlayStation has begun removing playtime tracking from their games, and that's incredibly concerning, because, again, what's the point? It's It's a problem. I I don't know how much of a problem is it for you to not know your playtime track. Uh, I don't know how much of a problem it is for people to lose the playtime tracker that everybody else shares. It's almost like a badge of honor, I guess, unless because like I for whatever reason I have 400 hours in playing Final Fantasy Ever Crisis on PC, and I get that. Like it's like I'm sometimes not proud of it, but it's still a thing that's part of my history, and it's like I like seeing it, but it's weird. By decoupling total time spent from physical license, critiques argue the publisher is subtly pushing the narrative that a borrowed, rented, or resold disc doesn't truly belong to the active player permanent identity ecosystem. That's rough. But also here's the funny theory crafting. What if PlayStation is doing this on purpose to bring awareness to stop killing games? That's got to be the funniest cook, where if they decide, if the whole point of this cook is to bring attention to Stop Killing Games, if they don't like the way Stop Killing Games is going, helping them by being the enemy might be the craziest thing that they're doing. It's incredibly wild. Yeah, everybody's everybody's talking about it. Removing people, Red Monitors are removing posts about criticizing Sony. Sony's reasons why we can't have a digital future for PS6. Sony's security is bad. One of the biggest PS podcasters lost his account, even with his 2FA. I don't know what that is, because someone contacted Sony support and changed his email from the back end. He got it back. So that's good. You don't own the games at all, unlike a disc with data on it. Even non-patched, it works. Priced digitally in majority of places are way more expensive over physical releases. Yeah, okay, that is a monopoly. That's fair. Sony can take away the game share we have today. Nintendo did. I mean, didn't we just look up that Nintendo technically still allows access? Because technically Nintendo still gives you the ability to release the cartridge from your Switch 2 and give it to somebody, because the game is not tied, it's not locked to the account or to the console, meaning you can still give the key. Your friend has to re-download the game onto their device, but you can still share the game at the very least. It's being said that Sony and PlayStation didn't expect such a massive reaction after announcing the end of physical format. They're waiting for Xbox to announce layoffs to resume their social media activity and divert attention. That's an interesting thing to say. Xbox took a shot at Sony right in the middle of the GTA disc controversy. Sony announces physical discs are dead starting 2018. Yeah, I mean, it's the backlash has been pretty massive. Yeah, it's really wild to see the people fighting each other. Uh, from the Insomniac link, PlayStation owners, PlayStation's own single player games make up 60-70% of the sales. The data being used to argue for higher digital purchases. Interesting. PlayStation, when it was led by a Japanese division. PlayStation 1 to 4, PSP and Vita. Backwards kind of... Is it? Oh my god. The Western culture is killing games. The Western culture is the reason why we're killing games. That's wild. Because allegedly, since the American division was... Since the leadership was taken by the Americans, we got the PlayStation 5. That had a whole issue. Kai Cenat had a whole thing. Price hikes, end of physical media, closure to Japan studios. Man, I need to change directions real quick, because it's getting espresso real bad. It's getting it's getting pretty depresso real bad. Yeah, because when I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if this change is... Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm wondering if the reason why... I wonder if it's PlayStation specifically that's doing these things, that's causing the drama, or is it because of Big Daddy Sony? What's bigger, Sony or PlayStation? I'm not incredibly sure. Okay, let's see. There's still fireworks going on? Jeez Louise. I do hope that Onimusha is still playable. I want to play the demo. I really want to play the Onimusha demo real badly. I'm excited to play it. I really want to play it. And then I have to get Joanna to work by 6:45. I should have some time to do that. Oh no. Games optimizing. I want to play some Onimusha. I'm excited for Onimusha. I'm thinking about buying it, but I don't know. But I think, like, that's the biggest thing though. Like, do I want to save my money now so I can go to PAX West? Oh God, I don't know. I don't know anymore. Help. And he asked my friend, do you think it's I'll send the text later. They're probably sleeping right now. Yeah, because I wonder if it's even worth it though. Because sure, off the top of my head, I want to see things about Resident Evil Veronica. I want to see things about Final Fantasy. I'm sure there's things for Monster Hunter as well. Uh, or should I do just a day pass and then go from there? Am I better off just getting a day pass and then just like winging it? Because Thursday usually is like when you buy. Thursday is usually the day that you pick up your badges, and then Friday's the first day, and then first day for everything. Performance and functionality of this demo is now guaranteed to reflect the performance of the full game. Separate benchmark will be made. Why do you, it's funny to where like people it's I don't know. Display language. Let's see. Currently finishing the settings for this. Game's okay. Performance is important. Oh god. Onimusha requires graphic memory of like 5, so great. Oh my god. Let's just do medium. Okay. Okay, I think I have everything set up. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and start playing some Onimusha. Let's pause that a bit too. Alright. Alright, let's see. Alright, let's go ahead and enjoy some Onimusha before the game's release. I do plan on playing this. I have high hopes for playing this, but I'm excited to play it. I'm so super excited. I honestly don't remember the last time I've played an Onimusha game, so I will be story focused. I'm not experienced in this game, but I'll go for story. What is aggressive? What do you mean aggressive? What's the difference? I guess I'll choose the first one for defensive. A control layout with control arrangements so that it's easier to play defensive while playing. What's the difference then, though? What's the difference? Block and parry, 1, 2. So we're Wait, what's the difference between changing exam and? I guess I'll choose this one. I don't understand the difference, but I'm excited to play it. I'm very excited. Looks like a really fun game. I cannot wait. This is a work of fiction that happens to be set in Kyoto. The people, organizations, legends, history, and the themes depicted are not meant to reflect. Against his will, Miyamoto Musashi has become an Onimusha, carving a path through the Genma monstrosities invading the capital. Musashi finds himself at Kiyomizudera Temple, where he has been tasked with purifying the key sanctuary. A host of eerie phenomena play out before Musashi's eyes as he traversed the twisted, malice-wretched temple grounds, accompanied only by the mysterious voice that rings out from his Oni gauntlet. Having defeated the Genba that stood in his way, Musashi is greeted by a long-standing rival that he has crossed swords with many times. Alright, let's get started. I'm super excited. Oh, you got teleported. Oh, we got teleported, okay. So we're trying to... Okay, we're trying to wake up Gauntlet Lady? Okay. Kiyomizu Yuya Temple. Okay. This is pretty sick. I like moving in here already. Okay, just gotta go forward. I don't think I need to sprint quite yet, but sure. I appreciate that. I don't know if there's anything I can grab yet, so who can say? I don't think that's a path I can go down quite yet. There's a red mark. That's a sign. Just the bastards I'm looking for. They're eating the crows. Okay. Okay. Near exhausted? Okay. There we go. Okay. Absorbing souls will make various enhancements available. They are left behind by fallen enemies, and finishing an enemy with break Eason will make even more appear. Yellow souls for my health. Wait, how do I absorb? So there's no item there, but up should be healing my HP, I think. God, what am I looking at? Came from there. Okay, that's dodge. Okay. The sensitivity feels... Control settings. How do I change sensitivity? I'm looking for sensitivity, but I guess not. Sounds like a big person. Oh, cool.
Oi. 化け物は全部片付けたぞ。どうしてくれ。
感謝いたします、お侍様。しばしお待ちください。
Okay, okay.
あのまま門を破られていたら、ここに逃げ込んだ者たちも皆殺しにされていたことでしょう。もはや境内は人の命をもてあそぶ化け物どもの巣窟。このような非道、御仏がお許しになるはずがありません。
しょっぱなからこのありさまかよ。先が思いやられるな。
Women, children. Let's check out the priest.
あの舞台の地獄絵図、思い出したくもない。
Stage. Okay, so you're gonna pray about it and forget about it. Okay, mild restorative. Okay. Oh, come on. What? Something happened, I guess?
五体満足でここまで戻れるとは、御仏のご加護だ。
そこまで荒れてんのかよ、この先は。
鬼畜がはびこり、賛美の極みです。進むつもりであればおよしなさい。
鬼畜ね。上等じゃねえか。
Alright, let's find some more Gunma. Alright, alright. Okay. Malice is thickest there.
どうやって行きゃいいんだ。
You can try walking. Okay, so that's the make your way there. Okay. The stage is set over there. Have to make my way through here. I have all of this to explore. I wonder if I can go through this part before getting to here. Like I'm hoping I can like get past this point. I wonder if going through here will force me to like for a cutscene, because I think the rival will be there, but I want to explore this part as well. I was hoping something would be here, like anything small, but that's okay. Let me get mine. Get up here, dude. Just walk by me. Okay, you can do that. Alright, let's see what happens. I hope the map does a thing to where it... Oh. I think I just did that too. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay. there's not much. Okay, just follow the path. That's all I gotta do. All I gotta do is just follow the path. Oh, okay, I can, let's see. I can dodge to, like, to avoid, read your opponent to avoid taking damage. Reduce stamina with a counter after evading an unarmed attack. Okay. There you go.
ざっとこんなもんだ。
You okay, dude? Oh, no, you're not. How do I... There you go. There you go. Okay, so far so good.
雑魚に用はねえ。
There should be a way to open this, yeah? Okay, so that may open up at a later time? Okay, cool. That's fair. Okay, cool. Wait, hold on. What? Okay. Again, it's gonna require me to backtrack if I want to try that area. Deflecting. Okay. Okay, I gotta go this way. Lesser might, increased health for a short duration. Okay, so far so good. Pretty fun, pretty fun, pretty fun. What if I... Nah. I'm still enjoying the game anyway, so it's not too bad. But I want to backtrack though. Spirit Mirror unlocked. You can use it to save your progress. Make contact with a mirror to restore your health completely. Anything you can't carry will be sent to your storehouse. Oh. Oh? That's a problem, I think. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? What's in the pots?
その目に宿りしは鬼の力黒魂によって覚醒なされたようです
黒魂
この地に残る記
A
憶
concentration
狂
of
気
the
の塊と化ったもの
malice?
です清水寺を浄化するためにはこの光景の根源を突き止める必要があります
おい小手女ごたくはいい目が覚めたんなら俺の質問に
嫌です
You refuse?
やってお前ふざけるな
小手女など汚い物言いへの仕返しです
What's her name then?
それ私が黒魂の力で一時的に目覚めたのみまたしばし眠らねばなりません
おい
She's being extremely picky. You know, that is a little bit crazy. That it. I want to check if there's any items I can grab. Those pots should have something, right? Why else am I able to break it? Oh. There's a problem here, yeah. Is that a shortcut? Yeah, I guess, I don't know, I guess I gotta go up.
コテが俺にどうしろってんだ。紐？なんだってんだこれは。こいつが紐の大元か。
If I cut it. That's a good thing, yeah? Okay, so far so good. Oh, if that's the case. Let me backtrack real quick then, because if that's the case, then maybe I can open my eyes over back yonder. So whoever's spinning this web's on the other side then. Okay. Yeah, because I thought I can go backwards, but I guess not. Don't shoot me. I'm not even gonna fight you. I thought I can go somewhere because of, like, the threads, but I guess not. Mild restorative, okay. So I'm blocked that way. I want to go there though. But I want to go there. Oh god. There we go. Nice. Again, this is story focused, but it's still fun. Man, even an unk can enjoy this game. I feel powerful already. For whatever reason, these yellow vases, I feel like are supposed to have items, but there's nothing. Okay. During a blade barrage. Okay. Nice. That was a blade barrage, I guess. These, I feel like these vases should have something, but for the demo, probably not. What if I let them break it down? Oh, okay. Nice. Pretty sick. Pretty sick, pretty sick, pretty sick. How do I get in there, though? That unlocks everything? Sure, I guess. Oh, it goes even further. Okay. It goes over in this area. Behind the building? Jeez Louise. There we go. I thought it blocked that. Over here? That's a little sneaky. That's a little sneaky. The two Celestials, a pair of blades forged by Oni craftsmen. Yellow souls for wows they strike down. Okay. Oni armaments deplete the Oni power gauge in order to unleash a special attack. Okay. Okay, cool. Cool.
鬼のコテと雰囲気が似てんな。鬼の武器か。
Did Onis make this? Well, the depiction says that they do. That they did. Seems like they did, buddy. Oh! We get to try out my new toy. Blue souls enable you to use only armaments. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Okay. Nice, 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 nice. Okay, what's over here though? Ooh. Lesser crystal? It won't open from this side. What do you mean? Why am I coughing so hard? Let's see. What am I? Interesting. But who is he talking to, I wonder? Hey, dudes. Okay. Okay. He went that way. But what was over here, I guess? Catcher grabs? Okay. Okay, cool. That's too bad. That's interesting. A whole lot of interesting. I don't know where that went. This was where I got the armaments, I believe. God, what's going on here? I guess I can't go that way. Oh, I guess I am forced to go this way around. Okay. Well, I don't think I'll be able to save that woman, but I can certainly try.
戻ってきたな。舞台はどっちだ？
The source of the malice, right? I'm looking for the source. Okay. Who were they sacrificing? They threw them over the ledge? What for? Where were they dumping the bodies? Jeez. That's pretty grim. Oh, Gandhi. Okay.
おとなしく死んどけよ。
Oh god.
鉄の傘からふざけやがって。やるね。
Uh-oh. Okay. Let's... Punishments? Okay. That's pretty sick. The punishment's pretty sick. Okay, okay. So that was just the beginning. Okay. Released September 4th during PAX. I mean, that is crazy. Like, I could play that again on a normal difficulty. But geez, even then, as a 30-year-old man who may or may not have time for the true experience of the game, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed my my snippet into Onimusha Way of the Sword. I'm really excited for when this game comes out. I don't know. I don't know where I'll be in September, because I'm having conflicting like decisions on if I should go to PAX, because for 4 days it's a commitment, like $240 just to play more Onimusha, right? But then I also want to see what they have for Resident Evil, what they have for Final Fantasy, for all these other games that they can possibly show off. I'm pretty excited to see what they have in store. But you know what? September 4th, it's on the way. I'm incredibly excited. Let's go back over here. I got the chance to play the game, and I'm happy I did. I can also uninstall that now, and then what would I know, right? What would I know? Let's check this out. It's not stopped yet. Yeah, because I'm done playing Onimusha, and I enjoyed my time. Yeah, I enjoyed my time doing that. That was pretty fun. You know what the question is? Do I want to play more Subnautica, or do I want to play something else? I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure, because there's also Dead or Alive 6 Last Around I could play. I've enjoyed it in my time. I don't know. Yeah, you know what? Let's just go ahead and fire that up then. Let's see. I don't know. I think I might actually be good for now. Actually, I'm looking at the time. And I think I want to rest up a little bit before I like do anything else. So I'm gonna end it. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.